Good morning.
I'm Linda Clark, and I'm sitting here with J.C. Trujillo, 2023 Rodeo Historical Society inductee.
Yes, ma'am.
Glad to have you.
Thank you. Great honor for me to be here, for sure.
Yes, sir. We'll get started and just ask you a few questions and elaborate if you feel like it. And cowboys are the best storytellers I know, so if you think of a good rodeo story, we'd love to hear it.
Okay.
This is part of the Rodeo Historical Society's oral history project, and it's been going on for 20 years, and we just think it's a real value as part of the museum and part of their archives. So
Great.
we're glad that you could be with us today to interview you.
Well, thank you.
Where were you born and when?
I was born in Prescott, Arizona, 1948, May 10th, 1948. My mom and dad, my dad had moved to Prescott when he was in 1919, when he was 4 years old, and he and my mom spent the rest of their lives there in Prescott, Arizona. I went through all the grade school and high school in Prescott, and later went on to junior college, Mesa Community College in Mesa, Arizona, and then on to Arizona State University, where I was on a rodeo scholarship. And I got a degree in elementary education. I thought I wanted to be a teacher, but I never exercised that teaching thing. But I finished college and went on into professional rodeo and spent the rest of my younger years on the professional rodeo tour.
So did you have some siblings?
I have an older sister, Irene, and an older brother, Frankie, and we were all raised there in Prescott, Arizona.
Did y'all rodeo as kids?
We did. We started at 6 years old. My dad entered us in the Yavapai County Sheriff's Posse Junior Rodeo. I was 6, my brother was 8, and my sister was 10. We all were into calf riding, our first introduction to rodeo, I guess, as far as contestants going. And I was rode a calf in the calf riding. I ended up winning second. I won $10.80, and by golly, I didn't think I'd ever see another poor day,
Famous rodeo story.
Right, and that was the beginning of my rodeo career. Of course, my brother and I went on and junior rodeoed all around the state of Arizona. The AJRA, the Arizona Junior Rodeo Association, we rodeoed in that, and then of course we were in the high school rodeo. I went to the state high school finals in my senior year, 1966. And I won the state bareback riding, and we ended up going. My dad took me to the high school national finals, and that was in Wetumpka, Oklahoma, not too far from here. We drove from Arizona, Albert and I, my dad, and we stopped by the Cowboy Hall of Fame here in Oklahoma City, and that was the first time either one of us had been here, and went through that hall, and that of course was in 1966, and I ended up winning third at the high school finals in the bareback riding. Jim Shoulders had the rodeo stock there then, and a guy by the name of Clem McSpadden was the rodeo announcer. And I met those guys. Of course, Jim Shoulders, of course, was a hero of mine. And as life went on, Clem McSpadden and I became great friends all through my whole rodeo career. And we followed, of course, each other, and we were great friends my whole rodeo career.
There's so many past inductees that have fond memories of this museum. Last year I interviewed Guy Allen, and he was virtually in tears talking about this museum and what it meant to be inducted here.
You know, it's a giant, giant honor, and as we talked about my first time here with my dad, we never did I ever dream that I would be a good enough cowboy and that caliber to be inducted into this hall. It is a great honor.
It is. Yeah. Well, you've been inducted in a lot of halls, and you've had a lot of recognition for a wonderful career. So it's glad that you're in this museum now.
It's just a great honor, I'll tell you. And when Kelly Riley called me to tell me that I was going to be inducted into the hall, I was pretty much left speechless. And to think that I could be in the same caliber as some of these great cowboys, it's unbelievable.
It is a great honor, truly. So tell me about the rest of your family, your wife.
My wife Margot, she came from California, a great rodeo family out in Red Bluff, California, the Growney Brothers Rodeo Company. Her brother John Growney, John and Mike had the rodeo company there. Her dad, George Growney, had, and her granddad had put together a GMC Buick Pontiac dealership in 1922. And they had that dealership for about forever, you know. And I met Margot through some mutual friends. Joe Alexander, of course, one of the all-time great bareback riders, was a great friend of mine, and it was in my era. His wife Cindy and Margot were great friends, and me being around Joe and going to rodeos with him, and I met Margot through Joe and Cindy, and we've got two daughters, Annie the oldest, and Sammy Lou, the youngest. Of course, they're both married now. We have five or six, I guess, 7 grandkids. Sammy Lou has two kids. Her oldest son Strand, and her other daughter Stella Ray. Annie, she has 5 kids. JC, named of course after me, luckily. Jackson, Jordan Magdalena, Juke, and the youngest one now is Twister Dale. And they span from 22 to 2.
What fun.
And you know what, the blessings of grandkids are unbelievable. Of course, you think of the blessings of having 2 kids, and these grandkids really put the cherry on the top of the cake for life, you know. The oldest boy, JC Mortensen, he's finished this year 21st in the standings in the bull riding. Didn't quite make the national finals this year. And Jackson, the other boy's a bull rider also, and he's in the PBR, and they're all doing really well. Makes you mighty proud. Strand and Stella, both junior rodeo now around Arizona, and Juki, the other boy, he does too. And it's really quite an honor for me to see these kids get involved in the same sport that has been so kind to me. And it's a great honor. And, you know, like I was saying, these grandkids have just made our lives unbelievable.
Yeah, it is a great honor when your kids and your descendants, your grandkids, want to continue in that same vein, and that it's such a family-oriented sport, rodeo is.
Right.
And it's just great to see the next generation be involved.
Right, and you know, you get so involved in rodeo, which, like, you know, of course I did and am, that to think that your family takes the same trail,
Yes.
the same path, it's really rewarding.
Yeah, we're doing something right.
That's exactly right.
I have my daughter and son-in-law. My son-in-law's qualifying for the National Steer Open Finals.
Oh,
next
all
week.
right.
Yeah, and he's a multi-generational rodeo kid, and our daughter rodeos too, and we're expecting our first grandchild. So yeah, we're so excited, and we've already got a string of horses lined up.
Oh, I'll bet.
So let's hope that he rides. I don't know what we'll do if he doesn't, but
Yeah.
let's hope that he does. But yeah.
Yeah, my youngest daughter's husband, Ivan Stewart, he's a competitive steer roper.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was a great team roper and calf roper in his younger days, and now he's, of course, steer roping.
Mm-hmm.
He's been to the circuit finals
Oh, great.
and the circuit national finals,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, he's a really good hand, and it really rewarding to see him teaching his kids
Oh,
how to
yeah.
be cowboys and
Yeah.
the Western way of life.
Yes, absolutely. The Western way of life overall. Yeah, and that's what I see about you, JC, is everything in your career field has been in the Western way of life. You've had kind of a diverse, done so many different things, but you've adhered to that code of ethics and just that way of life, and that's so important.
It's really important, and it's really rewarding, you know, the ethics and what it takes other than ability and skill to be a cowboy and to be involved in the Western way of life. It's just very rewarding to me, and to see these kids follow the same way. My brother and I both, like I was saying, we junior rodeoed, and then of course he went on, was a cowpuncher for a long time, worked on different ranches, which I also did a little bit in my younger days, and in my off times I did the same thing. But you know, not only were we raised to be in the rodeo business and the rodeo cowboy, but we were raised to be cowpunchers and cowboys, and to be good hands, you know.
Yeah.
And you see a lot of, not a lot, but there's you know, some people, some guys in rodeo are just rodeo people, you know,
Right.
which is, that's not just, I mean, it's,
Right.
but to be on both sides of the fence there is really a rewarding thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, there are event specialists, but then there's cowboys.
Right.
And yeah, I think it's a good mix if you can be cowboy as well as honing in on your particular event.
You know, and there was times in my younger career where I'd go to work for a ranch for a month or two being a cowpuncher, and then get paid, load up, and go to a rodeo. Spend all your money on entry fees and expenses, you know. But that was just the way we lived.
Yeah, it's good investment.
Yes.
Tell me about Margot. I remember some things about Margot when I was a kid. She's a pretty good hand herself.
She's a really, really good hand. She's been a blessing in my life.
How long have y'all been married?
That's a pretty good question. We're about 43 years.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
And she's been next to me our whole lives, or ever since we met. She ropes a lot better than I do, and she is a great horseman, and she's a cowgirl. She was raised, of course, there in Red Bluff. Her dad had a little ranch there in Red Bluff, and she all-girl rodeoed, you know. And
What events?
she all the roping events.
I thought she rode bareback horses.
No,
I thought, okay.
no,
I'm
she was
mistaken.
never rough
I
stock.
thought she and Cindy Alexander and Cindy Rosser all rode bareback
That's
horses.
no,
Yeah.
she wasn't ever in a bronc rider,
Okay,
but
just a good hand.
she roped a lot, you know, breakaway, team roped,
Yeah.
and she was never much of a barrel racer, but she's a really good hand with the rope.
That's great.
She, of course, she raised our 2 daughters, and they've been a blessing to us. They both followed kind of their mama's footsteps, and they both were pretty good little hands when they were younger. They, of course, the first thing they learned how to do is run the rope and shoot, you know. And but Margot, yeah, she's been an unbelievable blessing for me ever since the first time I laid eyes on her.
That's great. What a great partnership
Yes.
y'all have had. That's wonderful. I see that you were the manager of the Prescott Rodeo for 18 years. Tell us about that.
Well, you know, it was kind of an after my career kind of thing, you know. Margot and I ran a guide and outfitting business for years in Colorado, at our place in Colorado.
That place sounded so interesting to me.
It's
Pretty remote and just
very
sounded so
remote.
cool.
Very remote. We live way out of town. We live on a dirt road for 27 miles. And it's in a way Colorado high country, beautiful country. The first year that the Calgary Stampede gave out that $50,000 bonus for the winners, I was lucky enough to win the bareback riding that year. And I turned around and we bought that place up there in Colorado. I had in the back of my mind I wanted to be an outfitter, a guide and outfitter. In that country, we're very remote. We could ride out our back gate, and you're on national forest that goes into the wilderness area, in the flat top wilderness area in northwestern Colorado, kind of between Steamboat Springs and Meeker, Colorado. And we ran that guide and outfitting business for a long time. And the Prescott Frontier days, actually my brother's wife called me one time and she said, "Hey, they're looking for a general manager of for the rodeo, and you're in Prescott." I never thought of myself maybe doing that. Of course, it'd been a few years that I've been out of rodeo, and I put my name in. They called me for an interview, and by golly, they hired me, and it was really exciting to get back in the rodeo business, you know. And I worked there for about 17 years as the general manager of the Prescott Frontier days. I kind of got to see the other side of the fence, so to speak. We would, you know, as a contestant, you'd blow into a rodeo, ride, and leave, you know, and not really taking into consideration what each rodeo committee does to make that rodeo happen. All over the country, there's rodeo committees that make that. That's one of the main things in the rodeo business, and they're really basically what I call non-rodeo people. Most of them don't know how to saddle a horse, you know. But and then there are, of course, there's some that are good hands too. But it was very interesting for me to see the other side of the fence and learn what really goes into to putting a rodeo on. And I really enjoyed it. I met a lot of good people, and after 17 years, we had been, of course, away from our place in Colorado. We spent most of our time in Arizona then.
So it was like a 12-month
Right.
basically job just to put on the rodeo, not necessarily the event center, but the rodeo per se.
Well, we did both. We put the rodeo on, plus at the fairgrounds in Prescott, they have a lot of different events, ropings and horse shows and fairs and a lot of different things. And I was involved kind of in the management of the grounds and the rental of all the facility there. And every fall we would leave Prescott and go to Colorado and guide our hunters and do that whole deal. But we were missing the best time of the year in the high country, was the summer. So after 17 years of being the general manager there, it was time for us to move on. And we left Prescott, went back to Colorado, and have been enjoying the life in the high country ever since then. We've retired from the guide and outfitting business. I had 15 saddle horses, 6 pack mules, and they all started getting old, just like me. And that's when we decided to get out of the outfitting business. But now we love our place up there. The Colorado summers and falls are just unbelievable. And so we spend most of our time in Colorado. The last couple of years since we've left Prescott, we go back down and enjoy the Arizona winters. Of course, around southern Arizona and Wickenburg and that country, the team roping has just gone crazy there. So we go down just west of Wickenburg. There's a little agriculture town called Aguila. And a friend of mine, Scott Whitworth, he owns a little, what he calls a Silver Bit Ranch down there. And it's like a roping camp. They have, about 15 or 20 RV spots, 2 arenas, great facility for horses, practice steers, and I guess it's kind of a roper's paradise,
How many places are there like that in that part of the country? My goodness.
It's unbelievable.
Oh man, it's so fun. That must be such a blast. My husband and I have never gone down through there that time of year on the way to the NFR or just all winter. It must be great.
It's really a treat, I'll tell you. And the best part for me is to be able to get down there, and I'm definitely not a tough team roper. I try to be, but anymore I do a lot better practicing than I do anything else, and save a lot of money too.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've been going down there. Of course, Margot, she loves to rope, so we spend the winters down there. And the best part, like I was telling you, is being able to see and visit with the people that I knew during my rodeo era.
Mm-hmm.
That's the biggest part of it for me.
Absolutely. Going back to being involved with the Prescott Rodeo, how do you think rodeo has evolved since you went, and even managing the event, positively and negatively? Or I guess just positively, not necessarily negatively. But.
And there's not a lot of negative, of course, in rodeo anymore, or it never has been, but the way I look at it, I guess, the whole rodeo thing is very rewarding to me to see. The year I won the World Championship, I won about $76,000. Of course, then thought we were millionaires, It was a lot of money then.
It was.
But now, that amount of money wouldn't even qualify you for the top 15 to the national finals. But of course, the world, it has how it's evolved into. It's really rewarding for me to see these guys winning that kind of money and getting the recognition that they have. Of course, the only televised rodeo in my day was the national finals, and that was probably only the last go around.
Yeah, I think so.
And now with this Cowboy channel, it's been such a treat. This Cowboy channel, making every one of these top cowboys stars, and that's as much time, effort, and skill it takes to become a champion and become in the top 15, that elite top 15, you know. It's great to see these guys being rewarded for that, what it takes to get where you're at in the rodeo business.
Absolutely.
And I just love seeing them doing well like that, actually making it worth their while, being able to spend your rodeo career and win the winnings that you could actually do something with, you know. But it's really rewarding for me to see these young cowboys doing so well, and the rodeo business is thriving. Cowboy Channel has turned these guys into household names now, you know, and it's really rewarding to me.
And there doesn't seem to be the politics that there is in other major sports, and rodeo looks to me is becoming a major sport, and it's just so Americana and family related. I think that's such a plus.
It really
and Cowboy
is.
Channel is showing that.
Right, and there's nothing like the camaraderie and the rodeo family like there is around the sport of rodeo.
Yeah.
And of course, I've never been around a lot of other professional sports, but to see that in rodeo, it's really rewarding. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely. There is contention a little bit between Prescott and Pecos, Texas. Which is the oldest rodeo?
Well, I'll tell you, I have to, you know, I used to get asked that a lot. And Prescott may not be the oldest rodeo, but it was the first rodeo to ever charge an entry fee, to pay the cowboys, to have it judged, and to charge a admittance fee to the rodeo, creating a fan base. So Prescott was, to me, was probably the rodeo that planted the seed to professional rodeo, and from there it's grown. You know? Like I said, it may not have been the very first one, but it was the first one to charge an entry fee and to pay out money and to be an organized, had rules. They sat down and I think just alongside of the fence outside of the arena and put their rules together. And from those rules, the first RCA rule book come alive, you know.
I'll be darned.
And so yeah, you know, it may not be the first rodeo, but it was the first real organized rodeo that started and planted that seed for the professional rodeo of today.
What year did it begin?
Their first year was 1888.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And then there was always talk that Pecos, Payson, Arizona, Pecos, Texas, but from what I've read and seen, there was a little rodeo in, I think it was Deer Trail, Colorado, that might have even been prior to all that before.
And what's fascinating is they're all still going on.
They're all still going on. That's great.
Yeah.
You know, to see any event that is what it takes to put a rodeo on, or
Yes.
any event to put on.
Yeah.
And to think that Prescott has never missed a year since 1888.
Yeah.
Even during World War II, they were, of course, cowboys. All the cowboys were off to war, and the merchants in Prescott got together and put up some money and kept that rodeo going. And it's really a feather in Prescott's hat.
Yes.
And I know that they dearly love the rodeo in Prescott.
That's great.
It is the biggest thing that goes on in Prescott, Arizona.
Really?
And Prescott is very proud of that, you know.
Mm-hmm. tell us some things that you've done as far as being a mentor. You've put on schools, just a lot of things.
Well, you know, I was gifted with the kind of the talent to teach. And of course I went into education in college and did my student teaching, but never really took a teaching job. I hit the rodeo trail right after I got done with my student teaching and graduated from ASU. But it wasn't but a few years after that, after I'd been to the finals a couple of times, my friend Sean Davis, of course everybody knows Sean, he was a world's champion, 3 times world's champion bronc rider. He and I are great friends. He called me one day and he was putting a school on and he needed a bareback riding instructor. And so I kind of put my hand up. I said, hey, I'll do that, you know. And he and I started doing those schools together then. And for a long time after that, till even after I could quit riding, Sean and I put those schools on all across the country. We'd put 4 or 5 a year on in different places, you know, and it became a pretty popular thing. And it was so rewarding for me to meet all these young guys that wanted to be like me, you know, wanted to be a winning bareback rider. And not only what it takes, the physical ability, but the mental ability and the mental training to become a winner in the sport of rodeo. And as I taught these schools, I end up learning. Time went on though, I became a has-been, I guess, you know, but it's better to be a has-been than it never will be. But I thought it was probably better for those kids to get the instruction as the events change and evolve in the equipment and whatever, you know. It was time. I didn't really want to do it, but I backed out as a rodeo instructor, bareback riding instructor, because of the fact I thought somebody a little more current needs to do that.
Well, you're certainly a notable in the bareback riding world. How many times did you make the NFR?
I was very lucky. I went to the national finals 12 different times. At first, my biggest goal was to make the national finals. To be in that elite top 15 was a giant goal for me, to qualify for the national finals rodeo and be in the top 15. And after I did that for a few years, of course I was not close to the top. I was in the middle, 10th usually, or even lower sometimes. But I got to thinking, by golly, maybe I can be that #1. And so my first goals was to make the national finals. Then as the years went on, I got to thinking, by golly, maybe I could be the world's champion. And then that goal become a little more in sight. And in 1980, first year my daughter was born, she was born during the national finals. A horse threw me off Devil's Dream in the 5th go-around, and it ended up that ended up costing me the World Championship in 1980. And after I kind of realized that, I said, well, by golly, maybe I could be the champ of the world. And I rodeoed on, went to as many rodeos as I could get to, flying, driving, hitchhiking, doing whatever you could get. And we got down to the national finals. Bruce Ford and I were head and head. One of us was going to be the world's champion that year.
It was that close.
And we went into the finals that year. He was $280 ahead of me. And as the finals went on, I ended up winning the World Championship that year. And it was such a lifetime dream of mine that I had strived for so many years, that I only won one World Championship, but it was so important to me. And I just felt so fortunate that I was able to have the determination, the mental attitude, and the ability, developed ability to become a world champion and become the best in the world. It was a goal unbelievable.
Oh, just to make the NFR. But yeah, but then to see that you have that physical and mental capability to go that extra step to win the world, that is just fantastic. How do you mentally prepare for something like that?
Well, you know, the rodeo is such a mental game too. And if you don't have that mental ability, by golly, you can't make it. I've seen so many guys that were great bareback riders but physically, but they didn't have that mental winning attitude. And that's something that some people have trouble coming by. And I had to realize that too, you know. You got to think you're the best and know you're the best to beat those guys and to be able to ride those top quality horses like that. And it's a giant head game for sure.
Yeah. Well, and if you're fortunate enough to stay physically sound, like
Right.
you said, you got injured that one year, cost you the world,
Right.
but were able to come back and sit.
And the physical ability to, especially bareback riding, it's unbelievable. You know, the punishment a guy's body takes. I can really feel it now. But you know, if you look right now, the top 30 or 40 guys in each event, I don't care what event it is, they are so tough and so well trained. You know, in every event, that's the thing about rodeo. Every event is such a giant mental game, and everybody that is there will tell you that for sure. You know, yeah, there's a lot of physical ability there, but that mental attitude and that mental ability also is really, really important.
Yeah. Well, the year you were rodeoing in, were you physically fit, or just? I mean, it just seems like everyone works out nowadays, which
Right.
is wonderful, and there's just so much more knowledge physically fit. What was your regimen back in that era?
Well, in that era, and you know, Larry Mahan was in, of course, a little before me, and then all the time during my rodeo. He was the guy that made the rodeo cowboy through the eyes of the public, recognized not just as a cowboy that comes off of a ranch and goes to the rodeo and maybe ends up at the bar, but Larry Mahan was the guy that kind of cowboy and made him more of a professional athlete, and the public recognized that. Yeah, Larry was a great cowboy and an unbelievable athlete. That era on, it became, you know, you didn't have to be a ranch cowboy, you know. There was just rodeo cowboys, and he really, I give Larry all the credit for really making the public aware of what it takes to be a professional rodeo athlete.
He was a superstar.
He was an unbelievable superstar.
And marketing.
And yeah, he really marketed himself. I was lucky enough to get through the time. We became great friends, and I copied a lot of things that he did because I could see he was on the right trail, you know. And he really made it aware. He was just such a great athlete, and as time has gone on and proof, you know, Ty Murray and him were great friends. Look how great a cowboy Ty Murray was, you know.
Yeah, mentoring.
And that was really important. And of course, marketing, being able to market yourself, Larry was the best in the world.
Yeah, you did have a great relationship with him. And touching on that, the Cowboy Downhill, that was always a bucket list thing for me. I never got to go. And oh my gosh, that always looked like so much fun.
You know, that's how I ended up in Colorado. I was, of course, born and raised in Arizona. And I got to Denver one year, and these guys were just getting back from the Denver rodeo, they'd been to the first Cowboy Downhill in Steamboat. And there was only like 10 or 12 or 15 of them that went over there. So they came back, man, you ought to be in that Steamboat Springs. We had the best time skiing. Of course, born and raised in Arizona, I didn't know anything about skiing. So the next year, the second Cowboy Downhill, the next year at the Denver Rodeo, Mahan asked me, hey, we're going over to Steamboat, you want to go? Yeah, heck yeah, I wanted part of that. So I went over there. There was a whole handful of cowboys. Frontier Airlines was becoming a big sponsor of rodeo then, and they just had a special plane that loaded all the cowboys up in Denver and flew to Steamboat. And I'd never been to a ski area in my life. And I got to Steamboat, and of course you didn't know, it was all new. And we were all having fun. And rented the skis. Of course they free rolled us all, you know. And I got on these skis, and I'll never forget, Bobby Berger and I were both trying to figure out how you get around on these skis, you know. And we got off this first lift, you know, falling down and having a great time. And I was kind of off to the side over there trying to figure out how to stand up on those skis. This guy comes skiing over there to us. He had a cowboy hat on, of course we all did, but he was a skier. And he introduced himself as Billy Kidd, which was the first American to win a silver medal in downhill skiing. And of course we'd heard about him. He got us started on snow plowing and started us skiing, you know. And from that day on, I fell in love with the sport of skiing. And after the winter rodeos that year, I really wanted to do more of that skiing. So a friend of mine who also was with us, Joe Marvel, he had skied a little bit before. We got together and he and I went to ski area in New Mexico, and I started this whole new sport of skiing and just fell in love with it. And I fell in love with the attitude that people had around Steamboat, the charisma of skiing, that whole thing. I just loved it. And so I got to skiing and bought me some skis, bought all the equipment, you know, and went back to Steamboat the next year and won the Cowboy Downhill. And as time went on, I said, well, man, I sure enjoy that skiing. And so I said, you know, I was single and doing what, rodeoing. I said, shoot, I'm gonna move to Steamboat. So I did. I met some of the top guys around Steamboat, like Billy Kidd, like we said, Dick Haller, he was a pro racer, Hank Cashua, he was a pro ski racer, Jim Barrows, Moose Barrows, he was a top Olympic ski racer. And of course, they had respected me for the rodeo business. And they had probably dreamed about being a rodeo cowboy too, you know. And so I ended up buying a little condominium there on the ski mountain in Steamboat. And I was, of course, then single and having fun rodeoing. And that's how I kind of ended up in Steamboat Springs. And I've been there in that area ever since. Margot and I ended up with another townhouse there in Steamboat. Annie, our oldest daughter, was born in Red Bluff. And actually both girls were born in Red Bluff because that's where Margot was from. But we raised them in Steamboat. And they went through the whole school system in Steamboat. And we ended up buying that place. And it's kind of out of Steamboat, it's way out of Steamboat. But it's just still that same high country living, alpine living, you know. Steamboat is a great place to raise our kids. We really enjoyed that. But just like, you know, Steamboat was kind of when we first moved there was a cow town, a cowboy town that became a ski area. And now, of course, the cowboy thing has kind of drifted away. Still, the cattle business is a little around there, but the main thing is now it's a big ski area. But and it's one of the biggest in the country now, you know. But it's a great place, and a great place to raise your kids. But it sure has changed in the last 15, 20 years for sure.
Yeah, they still have the downhill, don't
Oh
they?
yeah. In fact, this year will be the 49th.
Oh my gosh.
Next year will be the 50th. And I got a call the other day. They wanted to know if I was going to be at the 49th. Of course, we lost Larry, and he was such a great person he and Billy Kidd had that whole cowboy downhill together, and they were, I don't know if they're going to do anything, you know, in his memory this year, but I will for sure be at the 50th one for sure.
Yeah. Oh, gosh.
Yeah, it's great. Now everybody tries to make sure they're not entered at the Denver Rodeo during that cowboy downhill so they can all go. And, you know, there was even, you know, when I was going to it, there would be 100 cowboys there coming over from Denver. And it was all a great time, a lot of fun. Of course, it's sponsored by Coors, which even made it more fun, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, the cowboy downhill, it has a great part in my heart. It was just so much fun, and so many people really enjoyed that, and it's got such a great reputation now. I was a while back, I did an interview with the public radio, and they came to me and wanted to do a deal about being inducted into the hall here. And I got to visit with them, and they asked me the same question when we heard you were involved in the cowboy downhill. And I told them all about it, and they said, well, we're not going to come to the 49th, but we'll be at the 50th one. And yeah, it's such a great, you know, you won't believe all the media from all over the United States come for that cowboy downhill. In fact, for a long time, they had a media conference there during the Steamboat, there and at Steamboat during the cowboy downhill. So the media and the press that got out for that cowboy downhill has just been unbelievable. And it's the Steamboat ski area takes big pride and big importance on the Cowboy downhill.
That is amazing.
It really is.
Oh, that is great. What a great story. What a great life.
I've had a great life. I couldn't write a better one.
I remember seeing pictures of you when I was a kid, and you had such an infectious smile, and so much of the research that I've done on you has, they touch on that. You have a glasses half full kind of aura about you, which is just great.
I've been so blessed, not only in rodeo, but just in life.
Yeah.
With my wife Margot and my kids.
Yes, that's wonderful.
My family, my mom and dad. My mom and dad were so instrumental in everything that I did successfully in life.
That's great.
They backed me. My brother and my cousin, they both, I was the younger one, you know, and they both made sure when I was riding or getting started, all my life, my brother was always making sure that I got the right go at something, you know. And he even to this day, he's quite a great cowboy. He, when I was riding or roping or whatever, he was making sure my rigging was tight, that I saddled my horse right, you know. And to this day, he still does that.
That's great.
But yeah, I've been so blessed in life with my kids, my family, grandkids. I'm a lucky man.
Yes. Well, congratulations, JC.
Thank
It's so
you.
nice visiting with you.
Thank you very much.